Ladies and gentlemen, you are no doubt witnessing the future of motion capture. I mean, where can it go from here? I don't have to wear any markers. There's no big scanning equipment around me. It's just me doing my thing. How much easier can it freaking get? And we can do it on our computers right now. Welcome back to the channel. Very exciting stuff for you today. We're looking at Kling 2.6 motion control, which allows you to drive the character animation full body, including lip sync, with a video that you make and upload yourself. And you're looking at an example of it right now. Yeah, okay. Kling 2.6 motion control is freaking awesome. When Runway came out with Act 1 and we could drive facial animation with a video of our face, that was a dream come true. When Runway Act 2 came out and we could do half body motion, including lip sync, that was another dream come true. But now the full body motion barrier has been broken. No need for markers, no need for any extra equipment. Just you, a camera, the Kling 2.6 motion control model, and a little creativity and a platform to run it on. And that's why we're over here at OpenArt. My name is Bob Doyle. I host the Bob Doyle Media Channel, where we really dig into the creative uses of AI. And we are extremely proud to be a creative partner with OpenArt, which has long been my platform of choice for an all-in-one that has all my essential AI tools together in one place. And they just keep adding to it. And I'm excited to show you how Kling 2.6 motion control is going to change the way you approach filmmaking forever. Or at least until the next thing. You saw a few examples from the opening of the video, so let's go find out how I did those things and look at some other examples. But to get started with it, I'm going to click video over here on the left-hand side and then click on Motion Sync Video. Here is where you can choose the models that will allow you to do these magical things, but Kling 2.6 is what we're looking at. It's by far the most capable. The concept is simple. The motion defined in your reference video is going to define the motion of the character in your reference image. Now we have other settings down here that I will show you as we go along because they'll be easier to explain in context of showing examples. You have the ability to keep the original sound on your driving video if you'd like, which I normally do. Motion reference control I'll explain when we get to an example because it's much easier that way. And the video mode, standard and pro, is pretty much how it sounds. If you have more complicated movement, more complicated gesturing, faster movement, you're going to want to go pro. But if you're just doing basic body motion and you're talking and you're walking around, the standard is generally fine in my experience. The prompt section allows you to enhance what's going on visually by even adding elements, and in the case of partial reference control, you even have the ability to customize camera movement. Let me show you the most simple example, which was used at the beginning of this video. The first thing we do is choose the character that we want to animate. And remember, it's going to be animated in the context of your original image here. If I choose this image as the character reference, then all the animation that takes place is going to take place inside this studio, and he's going to mimic the motion that's in the driving video, no matter how it's framed. Next, we choose the driving video. For the opening, I used this one. Hello, and welcome back to the channel. I won't make you watch the whole thing, but for the opening, I kept the original sound. I used exact motion reference control and the standard video mode, and I didn't even need to put in a prompt because it was very obvious what I was doing. Here's the original video that I used at the beginning, and if we want to see how this was constructed, I can just click here, and now we can see the character image and we can see the reference video. Welcome back to the channel. Very exciting stuff for you today. We're looking at Kling 2.6 motion control, which allows you to drive the character animation full body. So pretty impressive. You are able to see what settings you used here, and you can see that I used the original sound, I kept the exact mode, and I used the standard mode for the video. And it did a fantastic job. There was no need to spend the extra credits on Pro for this. In this example, you can see in the reference video that I stand up and I actually walk around the room, and the fact that I'm actually moving around in a space is reflected in the video that is created. This is the reference image. I just basically took the first frame of this animation, applied some effects to it in OpenArt, and then used it as the reference image, and it tracks my motion completely. Now, I've spent many hours with this model, and I've learned a lot of things, and I want to save you some time and frustration and just things to know. For example, here in this driving video, my left arm is holding the phone, so it can't appear in the shot. So the model doesn't really know what to do with that, so it just makes stuff up. Unfortunately, the prompt I used doesn't show here, but it was basically that this man is walking around the restaurant giving a tour. My background was just my green screen here in my studio, and so it made up everything and gave us this.
Here at Baker's, we give pizzas away for half price, as long as you buy 2 of them, for your mom.
So we do have some weird things going on in the background. This is using the standard model and not the Pro. Because another thing I just remembered that I added to the prompt was that people were walking around and eating pizza. So I gave it a lot of activity to do in the background, so I just asked the model for a lot. But if we focus on what's going on with the character, it is absolutely amazing how real that looks. This one here really demonstrates what happens if you don't have your limbs in the original video. I also had another prompt about walking around the restaurant and showing things off and people moving around, but we've got a lot of crazy stuff going on here, trying to fill in the blanks of the parts of my body that aren't in the video.
Here at Charlie's, we charge way too much for the food in our kitchen. As you can see, it's a real dump. We have no business charging what we do, but we do it. You know why? Because people like you say, okay.
So obviously, if your desire is to have the full body in the video, it should be in the reference image and not let the AI make up what the body is supposed to be doing. This example shows you how well it works with non-human characters. It amazingly did mouth movement and lip sync, and again followed us around. The prompt was generally the same. I just changed the starting reference image, and so we still have the same kind of things going on in the background with using the standard model. But just check this out.
You think you can just walk in here and make me an offer to buy my place that I've built with my own however many hands I might have? You're out of your mind. But I appreciate the fact that you came by, but I'm going to have to ask you to leave.
In that case, it worked pretty well because the subject was walking around as if he was taking a selfie, so it's okay that that arm wasn't actually in the picture. It worked for what we were doing. Now, here's an example with the Pro model. It's the same prompt, same starting image, same reference video, except we used the Pro model, so the details are a bit different. Let's check it out.
Here at Charlie's, we charge way too much for the food in our kitchen. As you can see, it's a real dump. We have no business charging what we do, but we do it. You know why? Because people like you say, okay.
So that is much more coherent, especially going on in the background. The details are very sharp and crisp. The only problem is that left arm because it wasn't in the reference video. Now here's a pro version with our alien creature.
You think you can just walk in here and make me an offer to buy my place that I've built with my own however many hands I might have? You're out of your mind. But I appreciate the fact that you came by, but I'm going to have to ask you to leave.
Oh my God, that is so crazy. So yeah, it's still a little bit of weird AI mayhem going on in the background, but the character facial animation is amazing. The sharpness in the background is much, much better. The Pro model definitely makes a difference. It's just not always necessary. On occasion, you may run into an issue where you create the video and the lip sync isn't quite right. Check this one out here.
What are you looking at me for? I do my work around here. Why don't you go talk to Stace?
You can see that the lip movement is a little delayed. Now, after a lot of testing, I learned that this is because the driving video I used was at a frame rate other than 30 frames per second, which is the frame rate that this model absolutely loves. Once I started using my phone to create the driving videos and had it set for 30 frames per second, everything was perfect from that point on. This is the exact same job, except that this driving video is recorded at 30 frames per second.
What are you looking at me for? I do my job. You should go talk to Trace.
Here's another example of the subtle difference between standard and pro. When you're doing simple motion, like a person just talking to the screen, you're going to see those differences mostly in what's going on in the background, whether it's the sharpness of the details or maybe some extra activity that the model throws in for fun. In previous similar models, you used to only get really good results if your starting image was placed in the exact same position as the starting frame of the video. But with this model, it doesn't matter. You can see in the reference image, she's in this position here, and this is the first frame of the video, and it put her exactly in the position that she needs to be in based on the reference video. You'll also notice that the reference video is in a different aspect ratio than the output video, and that's totally fine because the model is just looking at the motion going on in the reference video. Unfortunately, the prompt I used is not listed here, but it was that the bartender was explaining the menu to you as a customer. What can I get for you? Well, we have just about everything you could want, I suppose. There's a menu right there that helps. Oh yeah, I also prompted for the steam in the background. So aside from the fact that she's using my voice and I haven't changed it yet, the animation is flawless, it matched it perfectly, and it looks really good, even at the standard model. So let's check out what Pro brings to the party. What can I get for you? Well, we have just about everything you could want, I suppose. There's a menu right there that helps. So overall, it looks much sharper, the details are much cleaner. I just think it's more nuanced in general with the expression. It just seems to catch a little bit more of the expression, I suppose. But also, we've added this dude walking in the background who was not prompted and just happens to, I guess, work his bar back or something. Hello! For this one, I knew that the character was going to be looking down a hole and he's going to be looking over the side. So my driving video is just looking down in the camera as if I was looking into a hole. Then I created the image and you can see he's not framed the same way. He's up further at the top of the hole, and yet the motion transfers great.
Hey, Julius, how'd you get down there in that dang hole? Why don't you come on out? We got a party going on. All right, stay in the hole, I don't care.
Although this is an example where the lip sync was just a little bit off, I wanted to show it to you just because of visually what it does here. The more expression you put into your performance, the more expression is going to be transferred to your character, so don't be afraid to ham it up. But I was pretty far back from the camera and it still picked up all my mouth movements and facial expression and all of that to be able to transfer to this.
Well, hi! Here at Kling's Clown Shop, we got all the clown crap you could possibly want and have nightmares about. So come on in here before the authorities find out about us.
So now you're able to put yourself in any kind of environment you can imagine with no limitations except your imagination, of course. So I can just be sitting around my house somewhere and decide to take a random reference video, and then I can put myself on a war-torn battlefield. Okay, well, as you can see, it's a real mess here. And nobody really knows when it's going to get cleaned up, so you can just wait in the back with the rest of them. So you can see kind of blurry fingers and things like that from time to time. That's the standard model showing itself because I was wiggling them fairly quickly. But even so, you can still do amazing things with the standard setting. All of this activity here I just prompted with explosions and debris flying around using the standard model, again using the motion reference control exact so that I could use a longer clip. Okay, well, as you can see, it's a real mess here. And nobody really knows when it's going to get cleaned up, so you can just wait in the back with the rest of them. Here's the exact same idea, but I used the Pro model. Okay, well, as you can see, it's a real mess here. And nobody really knows when it's going to get cleaned up, so you can just wait in the back with the rest of them. The advantage we got with the Pro model, I think, was just a little bit more sharp on the image. It was hallucinating what my left hand should be doing. And just to prove that sometimes the standard model can give you better results than the Pro, depending on what you're going for, is this is the exact same scene, but this is the standard model. Okay, well, as you can see, it's a real mess here. And nobody really knows when it's going to get cleaned up, so you can just wait in the back with the rest of them. So what we might have been lacking in sharpness and clarity, we got back in all kinds of dynamic animation and stuff going on in the background. Now this model will allow you to interact with real world objects as long as there is a real world object in your image that you're using to drive. So in this case, I had this driving video of a short little ukulele riff. Just really a test, and then it transferred to this. What's amazing to me is that it followed the finger movement, so that it's actually more accurate than just my hands moving randomly along the fretboard. It's actually trying to play the chords I was playing. So here I added something for the mouth to do.
Oh, my mama is a scarecrow, my daddy's made of corn. That is why I look like this and have since I was born.
Here I made a bold choice, took the first frame of the animation and just replaced the face with another one. Just playing a little casual riff here, put them together and we get this. Oh yeah, I prompted a parrot. So you want to keep in mind that your character is going to move around in the same space as the character on your video. So in the reference video, I start up next to the camera because I'm turning it on, and then I move back and I'm in the back of the room. And that's exactly what happens in the output video. Hello, and welcome to Bob Doyle Media. This is, well, it's our lab. We don't do jack in here. We always go in the recording studio and make videos and stuff like that. So this is really just for show. Did you see all this stuff back here? So you no doubt noticed the camera did a little bit of movement on its own right here based on my movement around the room to keep things how it thought it should be. Obviously, it kind of breaks the illusion of reality there. Same kind of thing here. Even in the standard mode, the camera makes its own adjustment based on the movement I have in the video. Hello, and welcome to Bob Doyle Media. This is, well, it's our lab. We don't do jack in here. We always go in the recording studio and make videos and stuff like that. So this is really just for show. Did you see all this stuff back here? I mean, it's nice. It just doesn't really, it doesn't do anything. But I'm glad you got to see it because it costs a lot of money. The way that it pulls the guy in and out of focus just like a real camera would is startlingly cool to me. This is basically the same video, except that in the prompt I added that cats were walking around the laboratory the entire time he was talking. So in the style of the rest of the video, it created these sort of Pixar-looking cats. Again, this is the standard model, so it may not be quite as coherent as it could be with the Pro, but still amazing. Now, the examples I've used so far have been using almost exclusively the exact model as opposed to the partial. The reason is we get 30 seconds on the exact as opposed to the 10, but what we get with partial is the ability to add camera control. So this is a 9-second clip, and the prompt I used included a dolly camera movement around the character. Okay, I'm giving you 10 seconds to dolly all around me while I just keep looking forward at the virtual camera that's there. Let's see how this turned out. Same idea, but with cats. Okay, I'm giving you 10 seconds to dolly all around me while I just keep looking forward at the virtual camera that's there. Let's see how this turned out. That was the standard model, partial motion reference control. One more tip on composition. When I created the opening for this video, I originally created the reference video where I'm standing full body in my room. But what happened when I generated the image was that he is so small back there that when I did the composite at the beginning, the resolution was not that great on his face because he's a smaller part of this element and I had to zoom in on it. That's because it's tracking the composition here in the reference image. So if I want this character to be closer to the screen, I just need a closer version of this video. So I just took it into an editor and cropped it. So now we're only showing the waist up part of that video. And when we generate the video, ladies and gentlemen, you are no doubt witnessing the future. He's much closer to the camera, the details are much better, and it's just a better effect. You want to understand what the composition of your generated video is so that your reference video can be as close to that as possible. It's the difference between something like this Ladies and gentlemen, you are no doubt witnessing the future of motion capture. And this. Ladies and gentlemen, you are no doubt witnessing the future of motion capture. I mean, where can it go from here? I don't have to wear any markers. There's no big scanning equipment. I could go on all day showing you examples because they're so fun to generate, and I personally think they're all so cool, but I do want to at least wrap this up showing you that you are not necessarily limited to humans. You can also use creatures. So here I am just lumbering around the studio as if I was wearing motion capture devices or something, but I'm not. I'm just letting the camera track me, and this is what I get. So you can see it does take some creative liberties with the road. It's doing that based on how I'm moving and what it thinks it needs to do in the background. It doesn't know I have a green wall here, so it's trying to make up for that by expanding the woods to allow for where I'm going. Here's one more non-human example where we have this as reference image, just a lizard standing there in a garage, and then this is me just walking around like a maniac. And I'm also going to take this opportunity to show you another example between the differences between using exact motion control and partial motion control. This is the exact motion control, which basically means the camera is not going to move and he's going to stay in the same position relative to the reference video. Using the partial option rather than the exact allows me to prompt some motion control. So I prompted to dolly the camera around the lizard and reveal a full-blown luxury garage with blue and purple sports cars. So the lizard is moving exactly like the reference video, and the camera is dollying around as per the prompt to expose the rest of the garage with blue and purple sports cars. The best thing I can tell you to do with this model is just to play with it and experiment. You may not get the results you expect at first. Once you understand how it all works, that if you plan your reference video and you plan your reference images correctly, you can create just about whatever movement you want for your characters and have complete control. If these are the types of AI breakthroughs you like to learn about, they're certainly the types I like to explore, and we hope that you will subscribe to this channel if you have not already, because this site is a treasure trove of AI tools that will make your creative life amazing.